What's going on, folks? In a surprise move on a Friday, we have a brand new Unearthed Arcana, and I'm going to say this is pretty much Spelljammer confirmed. It is Travelers of the Multiverse, a new race pack for Unearthed Arcana for us to review. GIF is one of the options in there. Make sure you understood that that's GIF with the two Fs, the hippo people who travel through the multiverse. So seems like Spelljammer, that whole thing we saw with Boo, probably related. I mean, it has to be at this point, right? So anyway, before we dive into that, I'm super jazzed, super excited. I just wanted to do a little channel analytics thing. We got to do it here on YouTube. It's a thing that we do. But if you take a look right here, for the month of October alone, which is only 8 days old as of this point, 78,000 people have come to view the channel, which is blowing my mind. Out of that 78,000, 58% are subscribed. By the way, if you don't know, that number's basically swapped in the past year to now it's about 40% unsubscribed, 60% subscribed. But if we were to convert those 40%, about half or so of that 40% into people who subscribed to the channel, that would lead me to pretty much be at 100,000 subscribers right now. So anyway, if you like this up-to-date news coverage, story times, all this D&D stuff that I do, please consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. It's a simple click, and it helps me a lot. So here we go. Travelers of the Multiverse. Journey to the far corners of the multiverse with 6 new playable races: Astral, Elf, Autognome, Gif, Hadzee, Plasmoid, and Thri-kreen. Let's take a look. It's going to follow the new concepts that we've seen for races, so the ability score improvements will be the same. +2, +1, or +1 to 3 ability scores. Languages are typically common and something else that you work out with your DM. The creature type, it will tell you what its creature type is if it's something different than humanoid. The lifespan here, once again, we have this little bit disheartening to me to say that the lifespan is typically about a century for most characters, but other ones such as dwarves and elves can live longer. But it does say a fact noted in the description of the race, so maybe we'll see that. Height and weight, you basically choose. So we're moving to the Astral Elf. So this is elves that venture from the Feywild to the astral plane to be closer to their gods. What do they get? They get Astral Fire. So they're, first of all, they're humanoid, they're medium, they have a speed of 30 feet. This is I was going to say, I thought it was a sub-race, but I think this is an entirely new race, not a sub-race of elf. So Astral Fire. You know one of the following cantrips of your choice: Dancing, Lights, Light, or Sacred Flame. And you get Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma to cast with that. You choose when you select the race. Dark Vision out to 60 feet. Fey Ancestry, so that's the same. Keen Senses, so you'll still have Perception. So you're getting, this is basically a standalone, so you don't need to have the player's handbook to use it. So it does give you Dark Vision, Fey Ancestry, Keen Senses, and Trance. All of those are the same thing that base elves get, but you will get different for the Astral Elf, the Astral Fire ability, and then also Radiant Soul. When you succeed on a death saving throw, you regain a number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus, plus your Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma modifier. You choose this when you select the race, once per long rest. And then there also is this thing that says Trance Proficiencies. Whenever you finish a long rest using your Trance trait, you gain 2 proficiencies, each one with a weapon or a tool of your choice selected from the equipment section of the player's handbook. You mystically acquire these proficiencies by drawing them from shared elven memory, and you retain them until you finish your next long rest. So this is, I feel like this is kind of power creepy in a way, right? So you're getting a cantrip, which could be, sort of a nice cantrip for, you don't really need Dancing Lights or Light you can see in the dark as an elf, but you can get Sacred Flame, get yourself some distance attacks, depending on what you choose. Radiant Soul, this once per long rest, kind of even better. You succeed on a death saving throw, which doesn't mean, it's a 10 or above. You could basically just hit that 10, succeed on the death save, and then automatically get yourself some hit points. And remember, you make the death saving throw at the start of your turn. So this is basically a way, like the same equivalency almost of rolling a natural 20 on a death saving throw, which pops you up to 1 hit point. This would pop you up into consciousness. And yeah, every time you finish a long rest, you can get 1 weapon and 1 tool proficiency of your choice. Now you could keep that and maintain it to be the same thing all the time. Longbows and thieves tools, but you could change it up as the situation warrants, which is pretty cool. All right, moving on, we have the Autognome, mechanical beings built by rock gnomes in their image, usually with a particular purpose in mind. So this is sort of like a gnome-specific warforged, if you will. It says, for example, a gnome might build an Autognome to be a steadfast colleague or a loyal companion. They bear resemblance to their creators. And then there's the Autognome history table. Oh, and it says right here, like gnomes, Autognomes can live for centuries, up to 500 years. Same thing, astral elves who don't dwell on the astral plane can live to be over 750. So they did add that into the description, which I do like. Autognome history, so let's just choose 7. Your creator built you to complete a special mission, so you can figure out what that reasoning is. And here is your Autognome traits. You are a construct. All right, folks, this is the first time we've seen this. You are officially designated as a construct type. Therefore, things that apply to humanoids do not apply to you. For example, you cannot be affected by charm person, dominate person, or so on. However, things that affect or don't affect constructs also don't work on you. I believe, if I recall, that Cure Wounds does not work on constructs, therefore you would be unable to benefit from that. You are small size, your walking speed is 30 feet. This is another thing I think we're seeing. They're removing 25-foot movement speed for small races in general across the board. Armored casing, you are encased in thin metal or some other durable material. You have a AC of 13 plus your dex mods, basically freebie mage armor. Built for success, you can add a d4 to one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw you make, and you can do so after seeing the d20, but before the roll is resolved. You can use this trait equal to your proficiency bonus times per long rest. So this is sort of like a mixture of a guidance and a bless that you can do proficiency bonus times per long rest after you roll, but before you succeed. But because of how it's worded, that does technically stack with something like bless or guidance, and you could get into some really ridiculous chains of emboldening bond from a peace cleric, bless, maybe guidance from some other source, plus this. You could be stacking up to possibly 3d4s in some instances, which is pretty crazy. Mechanical nature, you have resistance to poison and immunity to disease. You also have advantage on saving throws against being paralyzed or poisoned. That's new. Okay, I'm liking this. So we've seen this sort of Warforged situation, this mechanical nature feature, which is resistance to poison and immunity to disease. That's pretty standard, and it's usually advantage on being poisoned. This is advantage on being paralyzed or poisoned, which is interesting. And then it also goes on to state you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, and that's all been condensed into one feature. Sentry rest, when you take a long rest, you can spend at least 6 hours, or you spend at least 6 hours in an inactive, motionless state instead of sleeping, but you appear inert, but you aren't unconscious, so you're aware of your surroundings. You gain 2 tool proficiencies of your choice. And then here it goes on to say True Life, which I thought we were going to get something like this. If the mending spell, the cantrip, is cast on you, you can expend a hit die, roll it, and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll plus your constitution modifier. In addition, your creator designs you to benefit from common spells that preserve life, but that wouldn't normally affect constructs, Cure Wounds, Healing Word, and Spare the Dying. Okay, so that explains that, because I was going to say, as we started at the beginning, constructs are not affected by things like Cure Wounds and Healing Word, but they have gone on to state specifically that you can gain benefits from Cure Wounds, Healing Word, and Spare the Dying. Also, you have this nice benefit of Mending, which, by the way, does take a minute to cast, so it's not really combat effective, but you can use Mending to basically give you a 1 minute, 1 hit die short rest, if you would like. And there's no limit to that, so you could potentially cast Mending multiple times to get essentially 1 hit die's worth of a short rest heal without actually having to take a short rest and only using a minute. Okay, so we have GIF moving on here. So GIF, it does not list their age stat here specifically, so I believe that means that a GIF's lifespan typically maxes out at around a century, which I think is how they're handling it. Okay, so GIF traits. You are a humanoid. You are medium size, your walk speed is 30 feet, and you have a swim speed equal to your walk speed, also 30 feet at the current moment. Damage dealer. Like a hippopotamus in a crystalware shop, you are naturally adept at damaging things. When you roll a 1 on a damage die for a melee attack, you can re-roll the die and use the new roll, but only once. You can do so no more than once per turn. So this is almost like the savage attacker feat, almost, rolled into the race feature here. And then hippo build. You have advantage on strength-based ability checks and strength saving throws. In addition, you count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. So while this doesn't seem, you don't really get a whole hell of a lot for this, but what you do get is essentially the advantage bonuses from Rage and Powerful Build all rolled into one, on top of having basically Savage Attacker for a singular once a turn use, all rolled into one combined with a swim speed. So that doesn't look like a lot on paper, but ultimately that is a lot of very powerful, always on abilities, right? Typically to get advantage on a strength save and strength-based checks, someone has to use the Rage ability, which is limited until very late in the game, but you get that for free always on, which is pretty nice. So then we have, so again, I just didn't really go over it, but GIF are basically big anthropomorphic hippo people. Broad-shouldered folk with hippo-like features. So we have the Hadzee, which was one that I know the name, but I'll read it because I don't really remember. Are people with simian features that long ago adapted to live among the tall trees of their homeworld. Oh, so this is sort of like an anthropomorphic monkey person. They are natural climbers with feet as dexterous as their hands, even to the extent of having opposable thumbs. Membranes of skin hang loosely from their arms and legs. When stretched taut, these membranes enable a Hadzee to glide. The first Hadzee were hunted by large natural predators, and then they've escaped. So what do we get? No age category listed here either, so I believe that means they live about a century. They are humanoid. They are medium or small, your choice when you select the race. You get a walking speed of 30 feet and a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. You have dexterous feet. You can take the use an object action as a bonus action. Again, that is an always on ability, so that essentially makes one of the things that you get from the thief rogue pointless for you. You get a climb speed equal to your walking speed and use an object action as a bonus action. So if you wanted to play a rogue and have some of the benefits of being a thief rogue without having to choose thief rogue, the Hadzee might be the race for you. And then you also have glide. If you're not incapacitated or wearing heavy armor, you can extend your skin membranes and glide. When you do so, you can perform the following aerial maneuvers. When you fall, you can move up to 5 feet horizontally for every 1 foot you descend. When you would take damage from a fall, you can use your reaction to reduce the fall's damage to 0. Okay? Again, similar to the GIF, not a whole lot of text there, but a lot of very powerful, very useful, always-on abilities. Specifically, the use an object as a bonus action. Glide is also situationally useful, but useful especially because you do have a climb speed that you can use to get to an elevated height to benefit from the glide. Then we have the Plasmoid, which again, something very interesting because Plasmoids are basically ooze people. And as such, what I'm pretty excited to talk about is your creature type is ooze. This is definitely the first time in 5th edition we've seen anything like this. And funnily enough, we referenced how the construct, the Autognome was a construct, so it couldn't benefit from things like healing word or cure wounds. Oozes suffer no such drawbacks, so there you go. You are medium or small. You choose this when you choose the race. Your walking speed is 30 feet. Even the ooze has a 30-foot walking speed. So I think that's going to be something we're going to see in 2024 is everybody starts with a base walking speed of 30 feet. Amorphous, you can squeeze through a space as narrow as 1 inch, provided you are not wearing and carrying nothing. You also have advantage on ability checks to initiate or escape a grapple. So that's sort of a return to the Fey Passage ability that the Fairy originally had, but it does require that you are not wearing or carrying anything. So perhaps something, well, I guess it really limits what you can do with it because you can't wear armor, but you also can't have like weapons or anything. You have dark vision out to 60 feet. You can hold your breath for up to an hour. You have natural resilience, resistance to acid and poison damage. Whoa. And advantage on saving throws against being poisoned. These are very powerful. All of these races are very powerful. This gives you resistance to 2 damage types out the gate on top of, like, first of all, you're an ooze, so any of the humanoid-based things don't affect you. You have the ability to shrink through 1-inch spaces. You still have dark vision and hold your breath for an hour, but resistance to 2 damage types, one being one of the most common damage types in the game being poison, and advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, and we're not even done. You have Shape Self. If you are not incapacitated, you can reshape your body to give yourself a head, 1 or 2 arms, 1 or 2 legs, and makeshift hands and feet, or you can revert to a limbless blob. As a bonus action, you can extrude a pseudopod that is up to 6 inches wide and 10 feet long, or reabsorb it into your body. You can use this pseudopod to manipulate an object, open an unlocked door or container, stow or retrieve an item from an open container, or pour out the contents of a container. The pseudopod can't attack, activate magic items, or carry more than 10 pounds. So it sounds like you can't even... Can you even wear armor as a plasmoid if you're... Oh, I guess... It seems like your natural state is just an amorphous blob. They consume food by osmosis, the way an amoeba does. They breathe by absorbing oxygen through a set of pores. Plasmoids don't have internal organs. Their bodies are composed of cells. The nerves enable plasmoids to detect light. They can stiffen their outer layers of their bodies to maintain a human-like shape, so they can wear clothing and accessories. They speak by forcing air out of tubular cavities that constrict to produce sound. When they sleep, they lose their rigidity and spread out and are sometimes mistaken for a rock. That's funny. I love that. And then lastly, we have the Thri-kreen. These are sort of your insectoid. People have been wanting these for a long time. They're basically like ant people. All right, so they have insectile features and 2 pairs of arms. So you have your upper arms and then your lower arms. They can alter the coloration of their carapace to blend with their natural surroundings. They're typically looking ant-like in their appearance, but this might be to have your insect people. They also don't have anything listed for an age category, so I do believe that means that they have a century-long lifespan. You are considered a monstrosity. So once again, breaking away from the standard humanoid-style player characters, you are a monstrosity. You are medium or small size. Your walking speed is 30 feet. You have a chameleon carapace, so while you're not wearing armor, you have AC equal to 13 plus your dex mod. But as an action, you can also change the color of your carapace to match the color and texture of your surroundings, giving you advantage on stealth checks made to hide in those surroundings. So not only are you basically giving yourself the benefits innately of +1 studded leather armor, you're also giving yourself the benefits of kind of like a cloak of elven kind, giving you advantage on dexterity checks, at least based on sight anyway, to blend into your surroundings, though it does take an action to do that. You have dark vision out to 60 feet, and the big important one, right? Secondary arms. You have 2 slightly smaller secondary arms below your primary set of arms. The secondary arms function like your primary arms with the following exception. You can use a secondary arm to wield a weapon that has the light property, but you can't use a secondary arm to wield any other kind of weapons. You can't wield a shield with your secondary arms. So what that means is you could, in theory, with your primary arms, wield a shield and a heavier weapon, and then your secondary set of arms wield 2 light weapons, I guess, if I'm understanding that right. So you'd have shield, like battle axe, two short swords. Yeah, I guess that's how that would work, all right? Sleepless revitalization. You do not require sleep and can choose to remain conscious during a long rest, though you must still refrain from strenuous activity to gain the benefit of the rest. And then Thri-kreen telepathy. You have the magical ability to communicate mentally with any number of willing creatures you can see within 120 feet. A contacted creature doesn't need to share a language with you, but it must be able to understand at least one language. Your telepathic link to a creature is broken if you and the creature move more than 120 feet apart, if either of you is incapacitated, or if either of you mentally breaks the contact. No action required. So all of these races are super powerful, I feel like. Maybe I'm exaggerating that, I don't know. But compared to what we've seen, like, this gives you telepathy, but it's 2-way telepathy, and it's out to 120 feet, and it's any number of willing creatures, right? Normally, a lot of the telepathy we've seen is like maybe it's one-sided, it's one person to one person, maybe it's just a one-way communication. This is any number you choose, which could be hundreds of people, as long as you could fit them within 120 feet of you. As long as they share a language, as long as they understand any language, they can understand your communications, and you can, again, go back and forth with that. I guess what you could do, right, in theory, is wield those 2 light weapons, which I guess would allow you to make bonus action attacks with a light weapon while still benefiting from a primary weapon that does like a D8 or something, and a shield. You could, in theory, also wield like a 2-handed greatsword up here, and then 2 short swords. I don't know why you would need 2. I guess you wouldn't. You could maybe, if you're a caster, I guess you could have a wand and a short sword and then a 2-handed great sword. So swing for your primary attacks, use your bonus action to stab with your offhand attack, and then still be able to cast, like, have access to spell casting. I think the main reason is to have a big primary weapon and a shield, and then a secondary weapon so you can have the boosted AC, and then also stab as a bonus action. But yeah, wow, this was an unexpected thing. I had not anticipated getting an Unearthed Arcana like this today, or anytime soon. I actually thought we were going to have breaks for Unearthed Arcana through the rest of the year, let alone get 6 new races, basically all but confirming Spelljammer, or I guess maybe to a lesser extent Planescape in a way. But yeah, I'm a big fan. I think looking through these, I like elves a lot, so I like the Astral Elf. I like the customizability of it, being able to just choose a weapon or a tool proficiency, right, depending on what the weapon is and the class that you play. There could be a lot of fun there. The Autognome is very interesting. I can see a lot of people liking this as sort of a better improved version of a Warforged, and that it does give you that advantage on paralysis. The GIF, like I said, the GIF and the Hadzee, just really strong abilities that are always on. But and the Thri-kreen, I was never a person that loved the concept of an insectoid person, but people love that. I think I like the Plasmoid the most because it's just so goofy to play an amorphous amoeba-like character, and I think I would have a lot of fun with that. But I'd also like to point out that we now have a hippo person, a monkey person, and a bug person, and what do we not have? Dog people. You gave us rabbits, you gave us hippos, bugs, and monkeys. You still haven't given us a dog character. And I don't care what you say or what Jeremy Crawford says, a shifter is not a dog person. A shifter can be anybody with sort of lycanthropic history in their background. If you look at a lot of the other, I mean, you could be an armadillo shifter or a crocodile shifter. They don't have to have dog-like features. That's the thing. I feel like everybody thinks about werewolves and dog-like shifter features, but it was a lycanthrope somewhere in kind of your history. Your great-great-grandfather could have been a were-armadillo, and when you shift, it covers you in armadillo-style scales. Or you're were-shark, and you're now got cartilaginous skin and a swim speed. I don't know. So I want a true... There were dog races in the past, right? Lupine is one of the go-to examples of the quintessential dog race in Dungeons & Dragons. Just give it to us. That's all I'm asking. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know, sound off in the comments, which is your favorite of all of these new races in the Travelers of the Multiverse Unearthed Arcana. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.